Now the latest from ITV News Meridian with Sangeeta Barbara and Fred Dinich.
Good evening and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines here in the south. The moment a drunk driver loses control. Is it time for a rethink on the legal limit?
The desperate shortage of foster families in the south. One couple from Fareham who've helped 66 children tell us why it's so rewarding.
Is your bank account feeling drained after Christmas? Money-saving man Martin Lewis will tell us how to save £1,000 a year.
And why are so many people struggling to get a good night's sleep? Advice on what can help. Good evening. Now, we all know it's against the law and the consequences can wreck lives. But hundreds of drivers here in the south are still prepared to take the risk and get behind the wheel of a car drunk.
Well, police forces say they are disappointed so many people have been caught over the limit during their Christmas campaigns. In Dorset, 48 drivers were charged for being drunk or on drugs last month, and that's up from 35 people charged in December 2014.
In Sussex, 182 people were arrested and 72 were charged. That compares to 178 arrests during the Christmas before.
Police in Hampshire and the Isle of Wight, Wiltshire and Surrey have not yet released the results of their campaigns.
Well, experts say it's impossible to say how much alcohol you can drink and stay below the limit. Malcolm Shaw has more.
Adam Walder turned his car over after what he called a few beers at a works Christmas party. Laura Gillette drove through a hedge into a field after drinking wine at her sister's. Both have lost their licences and been fined. Just two of the hundreds of motorists across our region now appearing in court after being arrested during the festive period. Motorists convicted of drink driving will be banned for at least a year. They can face up to 6 months in prison and an unlimited fine. They will also receive a criminal record. Driving under the influence of drink or drugs can have a catastrophic effect on performance behind the wheel, yet many motorists are still prepared to take a risk. Police say they're disappointed so many people stopped over Christmas and New Year were over the limit.
We need to make people aware that taking risk to drive whilst under the influence of drink or drugs is likely to put themselves or others at significant risk.
Now the road safety charity Break is calling for the legal limit to be made tougher as it has in Scotland, effectively zero tolerance.
That will give clarity to both the police, who have to, of course, enforce the law, and of course to drivers and people who may want a drink. They know if they're going to get behind the wheel of a car or a van or a lorry, they have no drink.
Most customers at this country pub have to come by car. These friends arrived on foot today, but how do they handle the issue of drink driving?
I will drink, but I won't have more than a pint.
I try not to drink if I'm driving, simple as that really.
We have to be sensible really. If we see someone that's having a bit too much, we will take their keys off them just because it's just not worth the risk.
Despite hard-hitting commercials and Christmas crackdowns, it seems too many motorists are still prepared to take a chance, endangering the lives of everyone on our roads. Malcolm Shaw, ITV News.
The former boss of a children's home in Southampton has appeared in court, charged with 39 counts of child sexual abuse. 74-year-old Colin Davis from Lingfield Gardens is accused of indecently assaulting 9 boys during the 1970s and early 1980s. It's claimed all the assaults took place at the Salerno Road home in Lords Wood, which closed in 2013. Colin Davis was bailed to appear at Southampton Crown Court next month.
A man charged with murder after a body was found in a property in Southsea on New Year's Day has appeared before magistrates in Portsmouth. Christopher Butler, who was 27, was found dead in a flat on Waverley Road. 32-year-old Brendan Michael Willis has been remanded to appear at Winchester Crown Court tomorrow. 2 other men have been arrested on suspicion of assisting an offender.
A man armed with a gun has threatened staff at a petrol station in Bournemouth. The robbery at the Esso garage on Charminster Road happened in the early hours of this morning. A man armed with a handgun and wearing a black scarf around his face stole cash, but no one was injured.
Meanwhile, a man's appeared in court following a robbery at knife point at a convenience store in Bournemouth. Police were called to One Stop on Castle Lane West on Tuesday night. 41-year-old John Opry from Bournemouth has been charged with robbery and possession of an offensive weapon. He was remanded in custody to appear at Bournemouth Crown Court next month. An 18-year-old man, also arrested, has been released on police bail.
There are 2 flood warnings and almost 40 flood alerts in place across our region tonight after last night's heavy downpours. Flooding
is expected along the River Frome at Dorchester and along the Cuckmere River in East Sussex. This was Wolsey Road near Falmer in Brighton this morning. Fire crews were called to pump flood water away from nearby homes.
Flooded roads also caused problems for drivers on the A23 at Ditchling. Roads were also closed for a time at Netley Abbey in Hampshire, Millbrook Road West in Southampton and Magna Carta Road in Bournemouth. And ferry services to the Isle of Wight from Poole to Jersey were cancelled because of strong winds.
The Chief Constable of Wiltshire has said local police forces should be merged into bigger constabularies to help cut costs and better deal with modern criminals.
Yes, Mike Veal says it's an outdated idea to have so many small forces in the country. He hopes his county will merge with Dorset and others to help protect frontline services. Robert Murphy has our report.
On murder inquiries and other major incidents, police forces already work together. But should they actually merge into a single Great Western force? Yes, says the region's newest Chief Constable.
I don't think the police service is structured in the right way to deal with the modern day challenges of criminality. They've been more resourceful, more sinister and more dangerous than they ever have been before. And in the southwest region, of course, we've got 5 chief constables, we've got 5 chief officer teams, 5 HR, 5 finances. And I don't think that's the optimum structure to be able to combat that level of criminality moving forward.
It's not just about criminality, but also cost. Look at the salaries of the region's chiefs. Sean Sawyer in Devon and Cornwall earns £158,000 a year, the same as Andy Marsh will earn when he takes over Avon and Somerset next month. Mike Veal earns £150,000 a year. Dorset's Debbie Simpson gets £146,000 a year. Gloucestershire's Suzette Davenport £1,000 a year less. But that's still a grand total of £757,000 just on salaries for chief constables, which would largely go in a merger.
We're proud of our heritage. However, in order to protect as many frontline jobs as we can, we've got to look at making savings throughout the force, and reducing management structures seems a simple way of doing it.
And what about council tax? Would people who pay rates or precepts for police in Wiltshire see that money going off to services in Dorset?
What I'm looking forward to is getting a precept that is raised in Wiltshire and spent in Wiltshire for that everyday policing of the people of Wiltshire around child sexual exploitation, noisy neighbours, speeding and that sort of thing, local issues.
The Wiltshire Force is the oldest in the country, but soon could it become part of a new merged Great Western Force? Creating one would be difficult, merging different forces that have grown in different ways using different operating techniques over the decades. Of course, businesses in the private sector merge all the time, and that is difficult enough. But this is policing, a life and death matter occasionally. If there were to be mistakes, there would be serious questions asked. The badge says Chief Constable, but will the latest man to wear it on his shoulder be the last? Robert Murphy, ITV News.
You're watching ITV News here in the Meridian region. Coming up.
On the buses, the campaign by Dorset teenagers to build better relations with their local bus drivers.
And for more on all of our stories, why not head to our website, itv.com/Meridian. Any views or news, call us on 0808 1010 095 or get in touch via Facebook. You can send us a tweet at ITV Meridian.
An urgent appeal is being made for more families to come forward to foster children. It follows a rise in the number of children who need a temporary home at the same time as an increase in the number of people who are leaving or retiring from the service.
Well, in England, more than 64,000 children live with foster parents, but it's estimated that this year 9,000 more families are needed. Richard Slee has been to meet one couple from Stubbington in Hampshire who've looked after dozens of children over a long fostering career.
It's nice to see Philip and Rosalie come down with the boys.
Laurie and Ethel Brokenshire are foster care veterans. At the moment, they're looking after 2 teenage boys. But during the past 20 years, they've taken in 68 children, aged from 1 to 18, and say it's been a fantastic experience.
Particularly when you see some children come through the door and they hardly know how to open a book, really, and they've had no access to any kind of education at all. And you give them some books, encourage them, and they managed to go up about, what was it, 7 or 8 stages in about a term at school in reading. And you think, that is good.
And then the school gave them an award,
yes,
which is great. 2 of the sisters, we had 3 sisters at the time,
yes,
and 2 of them went up 8 reading stages in a term.
But many children who need a foster home can also be quite challenging.
We've had everything from night terrors right through to all the different ADHDs, etc., that you'll have heard about. And of course, all on top of the normal hormones for a teenager, which is challenging enough. And I can say, even our own 4 children weren't perfect in those regards. But so it really is a really mixed bag. There's no one size fits all.
Laurie runs an advice group for host families and says there's also a lot of support and training available from the Fostering Network, which is responsible for finding homes for children, a task which is becoming increasingly difficult.
I think it's hard to attract people into fostering because of the unknown. We talk of fostering as if it's a single activity, and yet we require foster carers for a range of young people who have a range of needs. Sometimes they need looking after for a short period of time, and for others we're looking for a long-term alternative family. So I think often it's about, we talk of fostering as that single activity where it's different things for different people.
So what advice would you give to somebody who was thinking about becoming a foster carer?
Well, I would say think carefully about it. Go to your local authority, and there is a process in place where they look at you and the family, you look at them, and then decide through that.
Yeah, the main thing is to take some action, because so many people think about it, never do anything. There are thousands of foster carers short in this country, and they're really needed, so it's so worthwhile. So go and do something.
With more children needing help and a recent increase in the number of carers retiring or leaving fostering, Laurie and Ethel hope that their story will encourage more families to come forward. Richard Slee, ITV News.
What a very special
lovely couple. Yeah,
Smashing.
absolutely.
And you can find out more about fostering if you go to our website.
Now, a group of teenagers in Dorset have started a campaign to build better relations with their local bus drivers.
Yes, both sides admit they don't always see eye to eye, with young people sometimes thinking drivers can be abrupt and grumpy, and drivers seeing young people as disruptive.
Well, with the help of Fixers, the campaign that gives young people a voice, the teenagers have been sharing their experiences and listening to drivers to try and build better relationships going forward. Here's how they got on.
I'm Crystal Mills.
I'm Jack Dunn. We're both 17 years old.
Our Fixers project is about improving the relationships between bus drivers and young people in Dorset.
Young people and bus drivers can often feel threatened by each other, so feel the need to communicate in negative ways.
You can be stood outside the windows waving, saying that you want to get on the bus, and they'll just drive off and leave you. They're moody, grumpy and blunt. Every single morning I get on the bus.
Traditionally, the relationship between bus drivers and young people has not been good at all, and that's not just here in Weymouth and Dorchester area. This is countrywide.
The issue with it is that bus drivers are quite intimidated by young people, and young people are quite intimidated by bus drivers as well, so they sort of clash.
I think it's great that the young people have stepped up and decided to do something about it. It's very easy just to stand back and do nothing.
For this project, we've been working with the local bus company. What we want to find out is how young people and bus drivers can work together in the future to make sure public transport works for everybody.
There is a bus driver in Dorset called Gus who has been really supportive of our project and has come and spoke to us.
With the bus driver, we've got different way doing things. Some are moody, as you guys said, very moody. And some kids are disruptive on the bus as well. So that need to change. So it's 50-50, you know.
You'll say, oh yeah, can I have a child single, please? And they'll be like, And you don't really know what to say to that. You don't know whether to say thank you. And then you're walking up the bus and they just look at you in the mirror. It makes you feel really uncomfortable.
When you're walking down the bus and he's looking in the mirror, it's not creepy, it's because he needs to make sure you're getting safely to your seat and you're sat down before he pulls away.
How many people on bus routes actually know who their bus driver is? Like, know him by name? If you know and you come and you say, hello Gus, have you been having a good day? And it's only a 5-second encounter while you're giving him your money. It's not taking too much time out of your timetable, but it just helps sort of brighten up everyone's experience.
Through knowing Gus, we know that the relationship with bus drivers can be positive because he's living proof of it.
We've made an educational booklet to go out to schools. It shows you can do a workshop in your schools with your teacher, improving the relationship between you and bus drivers, for them to see the behaviours you should have and behaviours you shouldn't be doing, like loud noise and littering and putting off the driver when he's driving.
What we're hoping the outcome is going to be from this is that it'll prove that not all bus drivers are ogres and not all young people are hooligans.
Having a better atmosphere within the bus, I think it makes people feel a lot happier.
Hopefully for this project, I hope that young people are going to listen to bus drivers and bus drivers are going to listen to young people, so we make public transport a friendlier place.
Good message. Isn't Gus a character?
I love Gus.
We love Gus. Well, for more on the work of Fixers, do go to fixers.co.uk.
Well, the ITV Evening News continues. The national and the international news at 6:30. To London now for a preview. Mary Nightingale.
Caught on camera in Ghana, the man wanted over the murder of a mother and their 2 children. ITV News obtained this image of Arthur Simpson Kent, who flew to the country 6 days after they went missing. Cyan Blake and her sons were found buried in a garden earlier this week. A knife-wielding man is shot dead outside a police station on the first anniversary of the Charlie Hebdo attack. And why the government may be about to back a sugar tax on fizzy drinks. Do join Marcos and me for that and more at 6:30.
A carer has created a wristband which could save lives by letting medical staff know whether a patient requires help eating and drinking.
Well, on average, 24 vulnerable people die from dehydration illnesses a week. Katie Rowlett has been to meet a carer to find out more.
Just do your hair. There you go. All right.
Adeline Daly's been working in the care profession for more than 15 years. In that time, she says she's seen many deaths from dehydration in hospitals and care homes. The carer, who works independently, says things need to change and so has created a wristband that displays an easy-to-understand message. She tells me that one of her patients, Marion, who has dementia, was recently forgotten about after a stay in hospital.
I thought there must be a better way, more dignified for patients, of showing that they need that help to eat and drink, because nurses always check the wristbands when they give medication. So I thought this would be a more fair way of knowing. And also the lids they use on the jugs often get mixed up, so that when they have a different lid jug, it just doesn't correspond with that patient, to avoid the mix-ups.
The Chief Inspector of Social Care at the Care Quality Commission has also given it her personal backing, saying making sure that people using health and care services have enough to drink is really important. Very often they may find it difficult by themselves and will need assistance. Supporting staff to recognise this could be really helpful for everyone.
It took me about 4 weeks to get it all up together to begin with, and how I was going to go about it. I'm constantly asked about, hearing about hospitals and care homes where dehydration is such a big issue.
Adeline hopes this simple and small device will help save the lives of thousands of people each year.
Well, January, often a time for reflection, New Year's resolutions, more healthy eating, less alcohol. Also a month that many of us take stock of our finances, especially as bank accounts have been drained over Christmas. So what can you do to make the most of your money this year? The man, of course, in the know, money-saving expert Martin Lewis, who I'm delighted to say joins us. Martin, welcome. Let's start with Christmas overspend. What can people do if they find themselves in debt?
Well, if you're in debt, it's often on the credit cards at this time of year. The core weapon is a balance transfer. That's when you get a new card that pays off debts on the old card for you, so you owe the new card the money, hopefully at a cheaper interest rate. Best deals at the moment, well, there's a price war on right now. Halifax has just launched a new card up to 23 months, 0%, no fee on debt shifted to it. Or if you want to go long, and if you're not sure how long it'll take you to repay, going long is better. MBNA has a 39-month 0% card for around a 3% fee. Of course, if you are shifting debt, you want to make sure you clear it before the 0% ends, or move it again, and make sure you always make the minimum monthly repayments. So that's for people who've got the debt built up. Cut the interest rate, try and pay it off as much as you can. But of course there are people who've got to just step beyond that. Some people who aren't sleeping at night, who've got mental health issues, who can't even meet the minimum repayments on their cards. If that's you, what I suggest you do as soon as possible is make an appointment with a non-profit debt counselling agency. Step Change, National Debt Line, Citizens Advice Bureau, Christians Against Poverty. They're not there to judge you, they're just there to help you. And I have to say, as long as I've been doing this, and I started out with you years ago, Fred, but I'm getting a bit older now, as long as I've been doing this, I have never seen a case of debt that isn't solvable. They're not always quick and they're not always easy, but they are always solvable. Do not despair. I
Martin,
promise.
on your show tomorrow night on ITV, you give tips on saving £1,000 a year. Is it really possible?
It's really easy. I mean, all you have to do is take a few of the big bills for people who've never saved before. I'm going to be looking at how to cut the cost of your gas and electricity bill, your mobile phone bill, your broadband bill, your digital TV bill. We're also going to be looking at the best bank accounts. And I could go on. That's just a very small selection. On those 5 alone, many people can save over £1,000. You know what the big problem is, though? It's not the information. That's easy. I'm going to give it you in half an hour. My aim is to save people £1,000 a year. My real challenge is getting people to do it. And it's really funny. This isn't about the information. It's about getting people to get up off their backsides. So I like to come up with a sum. Do you know, if you can save yourself £1,000 in a day by going through your finances, the only people for whom that wouldn't be the best paid day of the year are those who earn over 610 grand a year. So if you're watching this and you earn over 610 grand, please don't bother watching my show tomorrow night. If you don't, I think it'll be worthwhile.
Very briefly, should we start saving now for next Christmas?
Absolutely. Typical cost of Christmas for an average family is £800 a year. So what? If you put away around £65 a month now, then you won't be in debt come next Christmas. And not only that, go do your Christmas shopping now. Get your Christmas decorations. Get the things for the tree. Get the Christmas cards. Why not even buy presents and put them in a present cupboard, as long as they won't date in that time? Now is the cheapest time to buy. Before Christmas is the most expensive time to buy. Don't be held hostage by the shops. Buy when it's cheapest.
Always a joy to talk to you. Look forward to the show. Martin Lewis, thank you very much indeed.
You've got to love his passion. Now, Paralympic athlete Lauren Steadman, who's based in Portsmouth, has been talking about the challenges of getting funding to be an athlete.
Indeed, the 22-year-old triathlete's in training for Rio this summer, having already competed in 2 Paralympic Games. She says the country really got behind the Paralympics during London 2012, and she and her fellow teammates hope this will only increase for this year's Games.
For me, it was fantastic to have the crowd behind us. You know, in London there was thousands of people that turned out to watch us, and just having the support there, you know, urged us as athletes, you know, to dig deep, find something else. So I think going forward for Rio, to have the public behind us, you know, supporting us, pushing us further in every way they can. I mean, we're launching a campaign tomorrow. We only have 8 months left till we actually race. So I think what we're trying to do is kind of get the public behind us in every way possible, especially, you know, donations, helping us towards funding, to make sure that all the small things are covered to help the bigger picture.
Laura Steadman. Now, do you regularly get a good night's sleep?
Well, if you don't, you are not alone. According to research, the problem of sleeplessness regularly affects 1 in 3 people.
Well, you've been sharing some of your experiences and tips. We shall be hearing some of those in just a moment. But first, the issue has been investigated by the Tonight programme on ITV later this evening. Matt Price now reports on some of the findings.
For 20 million of us, night time is more nightmare, with restless sleep affecting our personal lives and performance at work. Rhiannon Gilmore is one of them. For the last 5 years, her sleep's been interrupted by disturbing night terrors.
There's a man in extremely old-fashioned clothing, top hat, cane, cloak, standing about 3 foot from the foot of my bed, and I wake up screaming.
Rhiannon's bedroom's been fitted with a night vision camera in the hope of capturing evidence for a hospital to analyse.
For the first time, I'm really going to hope I have a nightmare.
And after less than an hour, this happened. In a survey of 250,000 bad sleepers, just over half said they're kept awake because they feel out of control. Almost 70% said it affects their mood, relationships, concentration and productivity. And for health experts, they often don't quite know what to do.
One of the biggest challenges for doctors, for health professionals, is to be asked questions they don't know the answers to. So often what happens, someone goes along with a sleep problem, they say to their GP, oh, I can't sleep well, and the GP says, oh, I wish I hadn't said that because I don't really have a solution.
One treatment known to help is talking therapy, or CBT, but with common techniques, demand is high.
There are usually quite long waiting times on the NHS, so we don't always have all the resources that we need to address the underlying problem for patients, and that can be very frustrating.
The Department for Health told the Tonight programme it was unable to comment.
Frontal lobe, and these are the ones.
This evening, Rhiannon is preparing for an overnight stay at a sleeping clinic, a scientific test to get to the bottom of the problem.
It's reassuring that there isn't any other sleep disorder which is triggering off these sleep terrors.
And after overnight monitoring, the diagnosis, parasomnia, a condition which affects the nervous system.
It's been emotional, but I'm glad I've done it. You know, that bit's done now. They know what it is. Just got to find a way to treat it, and hopefully it won't take too long.
Experts want the issue of poor sleep to be talked about more, bringing it back onto the agenda, hoping for some solutions and in turn a healthier nation. Matt Price, ITV News.
And you can see more on this issue if you watch The Nightmare of Bad Sleep tonight at 7:30 here on ITV.
Well, you've been sharing your experiences and advice on our Facebook page.
Yes, Clive Tizard says, I usually wake up once or twice during the night. Once 5 a.m. arrives, my brain seems to wake and go straight into overdrive, ruining any chance of getting back to sleep.
Oh dear. Leslie Harris from Portsmouth says, I find it impossible to sleep for more than 2 hours at a time, however tired I am. I've been like this for years now. Do you know, I'm a bit like that as well.
No, but seriously.
Yeah, terrible.
It is terrible. Well, Tony Mannell from Fareham says, I was advised when I had difficulty getting to sleep to count backwards from 100. You may need to do it twice, but I've never got to 0 a second time.
I'm going to give that. I'm going to try it tonight. Thanks for getting in touch. I wish I could go to sleep until the weather gets better. How soon will that be? Let's find out. Here's Helen Plint.
That's us driving on, us driving off in France, and us outside a chateau.
Driving to Europe. Eurotunnel Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Hello there, very good evening to you. Well, the sunshine making a very welcome appearance for many today, but the clear skies tonight mean it will be a chilly and frosty one for some, at least equating to sunshine first thing in the morning before things turn a little more damp once again. So a little more detail on tonight then. You can see widely lows of around 2 or 3 degrees in the countryside, a touch lower, and this is where we're likely to see that patchy frost. 1 or 2 icy stretches around first thing tomorrow morning as well, where we've seen the showers from today. But you can see generally a bright, dry and fresh start for the very early risers. But by the middle of the morning, well, that's when this cloud will start to encroach from the west, pepping up and bringing with it a fair few sharp showers spreading to all parts as it nudges off towards the east. So behind that, by the end of the afternoon tomorrow, we return to drier conditions. Still a fair few brighter spells as well, but starting to feel a little cooler. Highs tomorrow of 8 or 9 degrees in the southwesterly airflow, but by next week, considerably cooler feeling with a northerly airflow and highs of 7 or 8 degrees. Bye for now.
Eurotunnel Le Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
In just a moment, we have the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale and Mark Austin.
Sangeeta's got outlet news, so do join her if you can. But for now, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thank you very much indeed for watching. Take good care of yourselves. See you very soon.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.